dish the gossip. Let's dish the gossip. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Let's Dish. Let's dish the gossip. Your girl is lit today, okay? It's the full moon in Gemini. I have a Gemini rising. So let's just say I'm telling people exactly how I feel this week. And what better way to do that than starting with some pop culture commentary? I watched the House of Kardashians. Nothing new. Nothing new. Just told in a little bit of a different way, but all stuff that we already knew about the family, we already knew it. Do I think that Kris is an incredible businesswoman? Wow. I want to know how somebody without a business degree can be so skilled in negotiation. And that almost makes you think, knowing that she didn't have a business degree and she hadn't gone to college or anything like that, especially for business, it really makes you wonder what actually is the secret to a successful negotiation. The one thing that everyone kept saying in the show was that she was very charming and she kind of made you forget that you were talking about a negotiation. So she really puts on that Kristen Jenner charm. And everyone knows her real name is Kristen, but she goes by Kris Jenner. And I have to say, those first few seasons of Keeping Up with the Kardashians were pure gold. I just so happened to have watched the first season. I think I'm like 6 or 7 episodes into the first season, and watching that family when they were still a real, authentic, down-to-earth-ish, but wealthy, but still had that family feel. They still felt like they depended on each other. Whereas now, they depend on each other so much more, but they're so polished. They're so perfect. No hair is ever out of place, Now it's just so far out of reach. These people, they just don't feel like your friend or your sister or your aunt or anything like that. Whereas I think that first season of Keeping Up with the Kardashians was just pure gold. They were so funny and they were so raw and real. And when Kourtney makes fun of Kim's ass and Khloe is like, that ass makes money, honey, and they're all on, Joe Francis is in jail and they're all at his house doing the photo shoot and the designer like hates them, and it's just so funny. And then Bruce going, and so I think we all are yearning for the early 2000s, which really does kind of feel like the last time, we had that. I don't know, life felt different then. And I don't know if it's better or worse or anything like that. I have like a little phantom cat hair on my face, of course. I don't know if it was different or better or worse or whatever. It was definitely just, we all felt like, even if there was like dysfunction, that people were closer to their family, And watching those early seasons of the Kardashians, you really see a lot of their dysfunction when it comes to making fun of Khloe's weight or making fun of Kim, or, just all of it. It's messy and real and raw. And yes, we have them nowadays and they're, it's Kanye's having a nervous breakdown and all that stuff, but that relatability is gone. And honestly, the way that the world is heading, they have lifestyles that the average person, I will never attain a Kardashian wealth or lifestyle. It's it's impossible for the average person unless you're a young person or whatever and you hit it big on TikTok. But I have to say, I had to take a step away from TikTok because it was rotting my brain. Legit. It was becoming a crutch. And I was, you know that something isn't good for you when you can't stop, but you're like feeling uncomfortable in your own body. It really is a weird dynamic because I think all of us really are finding our connections in a screen. I don't have anybody to talk to about Bravo. Nobody, uh, except my one friend back home, and we will send each other memes. But nobody I'm like, where? I know BravoCon is packed. Where are my fellow Bravo girlies? I want to talk about Bravo. So where do I find myself? I find myself on here, on YouTube, on TikTok. But I did take it off of my screen, or on my phone. I took it off my phone because I was just starting to feel like itchy in my own skin about it. And I think that when you start to feel antsy or itchy in your own skin, it's probably a signal for me to get up, get out of the house, go talk to some people, get some fresh air, do something new. And it's weird because I was born in the early 80s. And so, like Atari had come out in the 70s and 80s, and then we had Nintendo and all that stuff. And I remember thinking in first grade and sitting at my friend's house and just like waiting for them to finish their Mario Brothers game. And I was like, God, I hope this is like a passing fad. I don't think I know what the word fad meant at 7 years old, but I remember thinking, wow, I really hope that people don't like I hope people get over this video game thing. So now I've been here on this earth for a long time, and I just see that it's getting, more and more and more prevalent in just people's everyday life. I just don't think that people have families anymore, or everyone is going through a super, super weird time. There are people who did have children and they have traditional families, but I I I'm seeing that less and less. And I'm seeing people, and even in myself, like I have to look at this objectively, even in myself. What are you doing? I notice that I will gravitate more towards an Instagram, a TikTok, as I do go out and do social things, but I do find myself relying on TikTok and Instagram and social media to get my interpersonal satisfaction. That freaks me out because when I think about like the trees and the outside, I'm like, God, this is all becoming like obsolete to some people. Some people in the next 10 years it probably will be very Ready Player One, where they, put their little headset on and their haptic suit and they'll sit in their chair and, they could be in the most amazing place in their little suit and their little goggles, but they won't actually be experiencing that in real life. And that freaks me out a little bit. And so I had to take quite a big step back from TikTok because I just found that I was defaulting to scrolling. And even though I have so much content that I want to make, I also think that it's just overwhelming to have all of these different platforms. You want to come sit on mommy's lap? No, you want to go outside? Oh, she's so annoying. In a minute. I'm trying to practice what I preach. And, I was up early, 5 o'clock this morning. I was out the door as soon as the light came up and I felt safe to walk outside. And I really do take the time to like look, I think like a lot of us, we just like everything is in our periphery. So nobody's like really like looking at stuff anymore. And I don't know. I don't know. It's very, very weird to be my age and know what life was like prior and now seeing what life is becoming. So very unnerving. All right. So continuing on of my House of Kardashian analysis, I could not stop watching. Okay. Could not stop. As much as I knew all of that information and it's regurgitated over and over and over again in 9 million videos and all of that stuff, whoever put it together, whoever edited and cut it and all that stuff and did the interviews, great job. I loved it. And I'm wondering if Candace Owens is eating her fucking words because Khloe is clearly Robert's daughter. Okay, because little Tatum has the exact same face as Robert Kardashian. Like, he's so cute, that little boy, and he looks just like Robert Kardashian the first. Not Robert. Okay, so Candace Owens, love you, girl. You gotta take it down a peg because we know that Khloe is Robert's daughter. Gotta move on from that. But I think everyone should watch it. If you're a Bravo fan or an E fan, well, not a Bravo fan, but if you're an E fan, E Entertainment, and if you just are ready to get inspired, watch it. Now, I think we're all super confused. Are they religious? Are they not religious? Did she make a deal with the devil? Is she the devil? Look, I don't know. I don't know them, so I don't know. But I always wonder, who knows? She could just be like a really, really, really savvy businesswoman. And it had its chance to shine once she took on managing Bruce. And, who knows? If she would have stayed married to Robert, she would have never had this second take on her life as this crazy, amazing mogul. She's mogul. So if you're looking to be inspired, if you're a woman and, or a man, you want to be inspired, just as respect to another business person, look, I think it was captivating. It was beautifully done, edited, everything. It was great. The Kardashians didn't do any interviews for it, but our thirsty ass girl Heather McDonald did. Of course, there's Heather. Shout out Heather. And Caitlyn, she was there too. So Caitlyn did the interview and Heather did the interview, and some other guy did an interview who never takes his glasses off, but he's like Ray J's manager. He gives me like Scott Storch vibes. Great documentary though. Captivating. I'm ready for them to go away for a little bit and I want to like miss them. I want to be like, oh man, what's Khloe up to? Or damn, what's Kim up to? But they're probably never going to step away from the limelight. And I'm probably never going to stop watching. So let it continue on. I do feel bad for Rob though. It's got to be so tough to be the only boy in that giant family full of women. And then your stepdad turns into a woman too. So that's wild. Yeah, I feel bad for Rob. Anyway, what else do we got? Oh, this $59 million wedding. It's giving let them eat cake. It's giving tone deaf. It's giving, please, I hope you made a donation to a worthy cause. It's giving tacky. I mean, honestly, the florals were stunning, and clearly this girl lives a life that I will never know, you will never know. We will never have, like, she lives on a complete, talk about 1%, right? Stunningly beautiful wedding. Stunningly beautiful. Watching her walk down the stairs with her husband, though, and she's like oafing down the stairs. All this money, you can't hire someone to teach you how to walk down the stairs? So, she's now going to, she's exploded onto the scene, and I'm sure we'll hear lots more from her. And I'm very interested in whose money really did pay for that wedding. Usually the woman's family pays for the wedding, so I'm assuming it was her family that paid for the wedding. But she's on the scene, and I think that, I don't even know her name. I don't know her name. I can't remember it, so let me know if you know her name. But she's on the scene. I'm not sure what she actually does, but I'm sure we're gonna learn. We're gonna find out. We're gonna get to know her. I'm taking a break from TikTok right now, so if you guys find a YouTube video, put it in comments and let me know. I want to know. Or I could even go and do a little bit of research and just figure it out on my own, so don't even worry about it. If I could have those flowers at any party, oh my goodness. Like, we all know how expensive flowers are. Those must have been. Someone said 300,000. No. Those flowers are like $1 million. Yeah. Gorgeous though. Put it on the inspo board. All right, so we talked about the House of Kardashians. We talked about the $59 million wedding. Do we really have to talk about this? I'm so, like, this hits me personally, okay? Paris in Love. Have you watched it? Did it completely disturb you? Now, I can't get down with the other YouTubers who are friends with Kathy Hilton, and I don't care. I'll never be friends with those people, so I really don't fucking care. Look, everybody has their own set of circumstances. Paris and I are very close in age, and I don't have children, and it has to be an immense luxury to be able to hire a surrogate to carry your children. However, it rubs me the wrong way. And knowing that her stepdaughter, Evie, wrote Carter a letter begging to be in the wedding or to have a relationship with him, if that doesn't rip your heart out, throw it on the ground and stomp on it with cleats, you have no soul. And the fact that Paris didn't make him reconcile with that little girl, I don't care how long you went to Parvo or whatever it's called. Povo, Parvo, I don't care. You are now a 40-plus-year-old woman. And if you don't want to carry your own kids and you could buy it and all that stuff, I love that for you. But the fact that there's a little girl out there watching you and her dad plastered all over TV and magazines, and you're not saying to him, please make sure this little girl knows that she is loved. Because, I mean, I'm sure she has a wonderful support system with her mom and all of that stuff, but to be publicly rejected as a child by your father, on one hand, I feel like Evie, they are doing you the biggest favor because they live in a bubble. They live in a bubble. They have no consequences for anything. They do whatever they want. And I guarantee you they have very low morals and ethics. So Evie, I know it hurts. I know it's embarrassing. I know it's confusing. But I think ultimately he's doing his biological daughter a huge favor, because I just feel like he is so slimy and he wanted in on the whole Paris thing so badly. Watching him hover over her when she's at his parents' house in Michigan, it was the most cringy thing I have ever seen. And I think Paris also was having like cold feet and, told her sister and her mom, I just don't want to be single and alone and have to start over again and all of that stuff. And whenever I see her, like when Carter's like talking to her and the baby, I don't know, TikTok, Instagram, whatever. I just saw a clip of it on TikTok. Uh, Paris is not really looking at him like, she's like, she's not like, oh, like she's holding her baby and like she's looking at him like, talking to the baby. And I was just like, why didn't she just have these kids on her own? You have like $100 million. If I had $2 million, I would have 2 babies on my own. I would only need 2 million and I would figure it out. I'd make it work. But the fact that she's worth $100 million and she felt like she had to get married to buy her babies, just buy them on your own, bro. Like, I don't understand. So I just was watching Paris in Love. It just baffles me that people idolize her. Like, I get it, idolizing, admiring, but the way people gush over her, do you not realize that first of all, she wouldn't even be going through the front entrance of any establishment. But let's say you were passed out on the side of the street and the entrance was in front of you and you're like, she would step right over you and go into her little party. And this is the person that you put on a pedestal? It's like making my eye twitch. She would step over your dying body to get into a store. And she has a stepdaughter that she doesn't give 2 shits about. What would have made Paris in Love palatable is, let's say, like, it was so produced, it's so fake, it's so phony. I really don't care that she went to this boarding school. Nobody cares. But if they would have had, like, let's say, a therapist on and she was talking to Carter, or they had a mind architect on. The way people coddle Paris, I would love to see Evie coddled the way they coddle Paris. Paris is spoiled and she's rich. Little Evie is a 10-year-old. What I would have loved to have seen is the mind architect come on there and have a conversation with her, Carter, and Evie. And Carter could have either said, look, I just cannot have you in my life, or I would love to find a way to have you be involved in our family. I would love to make you a part of our family. But instead, 42-year-old Paris had a mind architect come in to talk to her about her few years at boarding school, her 2 years at boarding school. I don't even know what to say. I'm speechless. Do you guys not see what Hollywood is about? Do you not get it? You don't get it? You don't get it? Do you get it? It's so disturbing. People will put this woman on a pedestal. She's just a human. She's just a human who was born into a super wealthy family. Her mom is not operating on a plane of reality. And neither is her daughter. And I do like Nikki Ball. Like Nikki. I find her tolerable on the show. But I just want people to observe them and watch them and just look at how they behave. Anytime someone gives them a compliment, they're just like, I know. And that voice. How many voices does she have? This seems like not healthy mentally. You're a 41-year-old woman, 42-year-old woman, and you're talking like a little baby, and then you talk really low. I had it on in my living room, and then I was going to do my dishes, and I was listening, and I was like, half the words she says in the baby voice, and then she's right. The whole time people are talking to her, she's going baby, she's going down, she's going baby, she's going down. It's like, pick a lane, pick a voice, pick an identity. This is who the world admires? I'm disturbed. I really am. I can't even believe that this is who people look up to. So it doesn't give me much hope. It truly doesn't. Watch it though. It's fair. I had it on in the background. I would put it on as I was going to sleep. I didn't even watch the wedding part of it. I was just like, oh my God, this girl is just so not in touch with reality, you know? Interesting. I would give it a watch though. Paris in Love. Now, this is going to be so niche and so weird. Oh, and then we all know that Diddy gave 30 million to Cassie. 30 million. What does she know? Apparently there's some sort of law in New York City right now, or New York, the state, where it's like a time limit to put in your lawsuits. So that's why we're seeing a lot of these lawsuits coming through from, the 90s and stuff like that. So, but wow. And when Cat Williams said, when he was at the house party and he walked into a room and there was Professor Opie doing something with another man, is Diddy Professor Opie? Because literally since 2007, I have been trying to figure out who Professor Opie is. So if you know who Professor Opie is, please tell me. Is it Diddy? Interesting. Now, non sequitur. I don't know if you guys were fans of the Paranormal State. I don't know if you guys like ghosty stuff. I fucking do. I used to love watching Paranormal State. And it was this crew of college students from Penn State. And they ended up doing a paranormal show. And it was so good. I remember watching every episode on a plane ride home from somewhere. I forget where I was traveling to. And I was coming home from San Francisco. So 2011. No, that was 2010, 2011. Around that time period. But I was coming home from San Francisco and I remember I watched every single episode on that ride home. And I was like, wow, this is the best paranormal show ever. It was just different. There was something different about it. All the other ones, they're corny, they just feel corny and drawn out. And I don't know, this guy, Ryan Buell, he had that little something extra that really made the show good. Then it disappeared. And I think it was on A&E. And then all of the back episodes also disappeared. So I've gone on YouTube. I've tried to find, old episodes of Paranormal State and I couldn't. So I don't know if I went on Reddit or if I Googled what happened to Paranormal State. I guess apparently they were going to do a tour recently, and Ryan Buell, who was the creator of Paranormal State with Chip Coffey, I always wanted to, I'm sure Chip Coffey's name at birth was Chip Coffey, but it reminds me of coffee ice cream with chocolate chips. Leave it to me to have everything go back to food. But anyway, so Ryan Buell and Chip Coffey, they were going to go and they were going to do a tour. There were some snafus with the payment or with the handling of the money, and $80,000 disappeared. Whoa, that's a lot of money. So Ryan, I was like, well, where is Ryan? What happened to him? Well, he got into meth. He got into drugs. So, and I feel so bad for him because they have his mugshot on there and all of that stuff. And when I was going through and looking through, he talks about how the pressure of the show made him turn to drugs, and that just broke my heart. And then it also made me really kind of not want to ever go ghost hunting, because when I was little I did the Ouija board and it did move on its own in a very violent, fucked up way. And ever since then I will not ever touch a Ouija board again. And I was 7 or 8 years old. And then me and my sister played it probably when I was 10 or 11. And she was 4 or 5. And it did say I was going to marry a guy named Bob. I said, who am I going to marry? And it spelled out B-O-B. And I remember saying, ew, that's such an ugly old man name. I actually didn't even remember that. My sister did. Because when I met my ex-husband, I was like, what's your name? We met on the train platform in New York City. And I was like, what's your name? And he's like, Bob. And I was like, no, it's not. It's Bobby. He was just too handsome to be a Bob, okay? Shout out to all the Bobs, but he was just a very handsome guy. But after that, I know that my grandmother she threw it out. And it was her Ouija board, and it was very, very thick piece of wood, and it had beveling on the edges. You know how those mirrors have beveling? So it was a thick piece of wood Ouija board, and it didn't have Hasbro on it. It had Salem on it, okay? So, and it did move. Violently. Goodbye. And I remember looking under the bed. I was doing it with my grandmother. I remember looking under the bed and I was like, do you have magnets? I was like, did you move it? But both of our hands were up and off it. And it was just... And after that, I felt a really dark... after my grandmother and I used that Ouija board, things got super dark in my life. And I was just very, very little. I was only 7. So 7 to 15, when I finally was able to move and get out of the house on my own, those 8 years were really, really bad. Really, really dark. Really, really bad. Everyone really dark. So, and I do tarot and stuff like that. And I have to be perfectly honest with you. I am even a little bit weird about tarot sometimes too. Just be careful. But I wouldn't ever touch a Ouija board ever again. No. So when I found out about the whole Ryan Buell thing, I was just like, wow, I wonder if something attached itself to him. Because meth, it's not like he was going home and smoking a joint or going home and having a beer. He went home and he smoked methamphetamines. And that is just such an intense drug. It's not casual. So he did go to jail, and he had some run-ins with the law and stuff like that. I think he like theft and all that stuff. So it just super bummed me out. And Chip Coffey said that he would never do, no, I'm sorry. He said he would do a tour with Ryan again, but they would have to have a third party take care of like the finances and all of that stuff, which, to be perfectly honest with you, when it comes to, no offense, but when it comes to somebody who has that sort of like addiction or stuff in their past, take the pressure off them. Just already, it already should have been a third party professional person, CPA, accountant, who handled all of that stuff anyway. Because if there's $80,000, that's not like $5,000. It's a lot of money. So, Chip Coffey, that sucks. I don't know why you guys didn't take the proper precautions to not put Ryan in a vulnerable position where he already has an issue. A lot of people are like, oh, it went to drugs, blah, blah, blah. Nobody knows. I don't know. I certainly don't know. But did it really, really, really bum me out? It did. It really did. I loved the show. I really thought Ryan was like a unique guy, and I'm from the East Coast. I'm from New Jersey. So the fact that they were from Penn State, I really loved. And I've spent a lot of time in my youth, because I don't know if you guys remember, but we had Weird New Jersey, and Weird New Jersey it used to be free. You'd get it at gas stations, and they wouldn't put the addresses in there. So it would be like a Easter egg hunt. You had to go and find the markers of like, when we would go to like Shades of Death Road, and it really is Shades of Death Road. It's so weird. But it was like this crooked tree stump on the left-hand side. And it was like a little, it was like a little Easter egg hunt. So you had to like find all the little Easter eggs to get to where you were going. And we would go to these crazy, insane asylums and, these abandoned buildings, and we would do all this kind of crazy stuff way back before, this was like 99, 2000. It was like that time period. But so I just really loved the show, and I really, really liked that they were East Coast, and I've spent a ton of time in Pennsylvania exploring, in upstate New York, and Vermont and Delaware, and I've been to all those places, and like, you look for spooky things all over. So it was really just like a bummer. It was a bummer to know that he's struggling. So Ryan Buell, I send you love, buddy. I hope that you come back. You were great at narrating the show and producing the show. And I hope that you and Chip Coffey can figure it out and circle back around and figure something out, because I would love to come to a live show. I think that would be so cool and so awesome. We're not really going to talk too much about Bravo, or I think after BravoCon, we're all kind of just like, we need a little bit of a break. And Jeff Lewis is still funny. The Steve-O episode was really too much for me. That was too much. Listen, I did not know Steve-O's adult film project that he did. I don't know if I would recommend going to watch it, but it's not really my wheelhouse. But I grew up in that era. I grew up with CKY, which was Can't Kill Yourself. And we had, all those guys. Yeah, it was like, and then Jack Black. Like I grew up in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Like I graduated in 2002. So I grew up with all those kids smashing each other with, like putting everyone in carts, and then like pushing the cart down a hill, and then them like smashing into the sidewalk. And so we watched all of that stuff. But now, and I watched Steve-O staple his, to his legs. And I remember watching that. And Tenacious D, that's what it was. Tenacious D. So we had like, we had like Tenacious D and CKY and all that crazy shit. But yeah, Jeff had him on, and I was like, okay, give me Doug and Megan. This is like so beyond what I needed to hear. And Jeff was fucking into it. He was really, really into it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of like taking a little breather from it all. And I will say I was super bummed out about MJ, because I don't know if you guys listen. I was a big fan of Shaza Sunset, and MJ and her husband Tommy, they have their own podcast called Till the Dirt. And I guess they got into like a really, really big fight, and then she wasn't on for this Monday's episode. Monday didn't even come out. It came out today. So, and Vita did it. It was Vita and Tommy who did the episode. I love Vita, but there really is just something about MJ that I love listening to. I loved watching her on TV. I think that she's funny, she's down to earth, she has a good head on her shoulders, and I think it's probably because she grew up in Virginia or DC, and she had like a regular down home kind of grounded upbringing with her dad, and so I think she has some good solid roots to her that keep her grounded. And yeah, I just really like her. I think she's got that it factor. And I love Tommy too, because again, he's from the East Coast, and I very much find a comfort in his thought processes. Like he's a Capricorn, his birthday's in December, mine's in January, and he always has a horrible birthday. And I've always had horrible birthdays as well. It's right after the holidays, nobody has any money, everybody feels stuffed to the gills, and everything like that. It's cold. So he had a super tough childhood. When his mom passed away, he had to go live with his grandma, and I also had to go live with my grandma. So I just like find a lot of, does anyone else's cat bite the cat scratching post like a vicious animal? Just an animal. So I do really love Tommy and MJ. So guys, can you please make up for us? I kept refreshing Spotify over and over. And then finally this morning I woke up and I was like, oh, there's got to be an episode today. And then I did, and it was Tommy and Vita, which I love. But bring MJ back. All right, we're going to end on, this is about to light my fire. We're going to end on Dave Portnoy making fun of Raquel Leviss. Leave this girl alone. When it first broke, okay, we were all horrified, blah, 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 all that stuff. Everyone's made their money off of it. Everybody forgave Sandoval. And he's a 40-plus-year-old man. This girl's like 28. You're going to forgive a 40-year-old man and vilify a 28-year-old woman? Like, if you are somebody who is judging this girl in any way, shape, or form, I don't want anything to do with you. Her whole life is destroyed. And this guy is selling out shows and has a bar and blah, blah, blah. So the story is Dave Portnoy and his girlfriend recently broke up. And I guess Dave and Raquel were in the same restaurant vicinity at the same time. And people were saying that they had met up to go on a coffee date. Dave Portnoy takes to X, Twitter, whatever it is, and says, I would never, let's look it up. I want to see exactly what he said. Dave Portnoy. Raquel Leviss. So he slams Raquel. He calls her a trash bag. He says, and I quote, this is from page 6. I can confirm I've never met that trash bag in my life, and it's wildly insulting to even be mentioned in the same sentence as her. He's 46 years old. This is a 46-year-old, excuse me. This is a 46-year-old man calling a 28-year-old girl, or any girl, woman for that matter, a trash bag? Look in the mirror, bro. Adding that he was at Uncle Jerry's Pizza, which was spectacular, by the way, and got an 8.3. Now, he's giving colonist vibes, and this is what I have against the Southern Charm guys as well. Not Craig, because Craig is a Yankee, but Shep and Austin, they give me colonist vibes. Like, they give me pillage your village with no remorse vibes. They give no remorse vibes. Fill in the blanks. So Dave Portnoy, that's how he smiles. That's what he looks like. And he has the nerve, like my eyes like twitching, he has the nerve to call Raquel Levitt, girl, whoever, what was his girlfriend's name? Silvana? His girlfriend that he broke up with, Silvana. She was crying, I think, on TikTok. Why are you crying? This man did you the biggest favor ever. I hope he has 10 daughters. I hope he has 10 daughters, because let a man call your daughter a trash bag for doing nothing. At the end of the day, it was a fucking money grab from Vanderpump Rules. And she was their sacrifice. And the fact that Tom Sandoval is still there, don't even get me started. But Dave, I hope you have 10 daughters. I hope you have 10 beautifully stunning daughters. And I hope you feel immense stress every single day that a man is going to treat one of your daughters a fraction of the way that you just treated Raquel Leviss. I think it's disgusting. Dave Portnoy, you are no one to look at. What we need to do is decenter these tall blonde men. They got to be taken down. They do. They do. They got to be knocked down a few pegs. They have been destroying our country for the last 300 years. And when are women going to rise up? Like, when are we going to rise up and say, we're not doing it anymore? Silvana, dry your tears, baby girl. He did you the biggest favor ever by breaking up with you, or break it, whatever happened. This is the greatest thing that could have ever happened to you. So take it and run. Don't be sad. Don't cry. But I was just so grossed out by Dave Portnoy. Oh, and then that other guy, Matt Rife. We'll talk about that. We will. But his plastic surgery, he looks wild. He was cute. He was cute before. But now he looks like a cartoon version of himself. Like, his jaw looks like Johnny Bravo. And his teeth, like, just have natural teeth, bro. These guys, ladies, have some self-respect. Don't date these men. Don't give them the time of day. But I wish 10 daughters on Dave Portnoy. And they're all going to be beautiful. Hopefully they don't look like you, Dave. And I hope you have to feel that stress every single day. So on that note, love you guys. And I'll see you next time.